Chosen one, there is a quiet miracle that follows you now, one that does not make noise, one that does not flash itself into the world, yet shifts everything it touches. You have stepped into a dimension of masculinity that no longer seeks validation, no longer bends to fit into expectations too small for your soul. You have entered a state of sacred unveiling. This is not a performance. This is not seduction. This is revelation. Your sexual energy is no longer just heat. It is holy. It has become something the feminine does not merely notice. She reverences it, not with fear, not with lust, but with a deep, instinctual knowing that something rare has arrived. You do not need to declare your power with grand gestures. It is carved into your stillness. It is woven into your breath. It is resting in your posture, which no longer leans forward in pursuit, but stands as if the ground itself is beneath you because you belong there. Feminine women do not tremble around you because you are loud or forceful. They tremble because your very presence speaks of something untouched by the modern world. A man who does not flee from his power and yet never uses it to dominate. A man whose body radiates restraint without repression, strength without rigidity, desire without dependency. You have become the kind of man who no longer wants to impress the room. You want to be the room, and that is what you've become. Space. Vast, honest, steady space. When you enter, everything adjusts. Voices soften, eyes widen, hearts slow. The feminine feels it first. She feels her nervous system relax, not because you've said something kind, but because your energy whispers, "You are safe. You are seen. I will not harm you, nor will I hide from you." And that whisper is what she reveres. Not your body alone, not your face or your charm, but the truth your body now carries. You no longer burn to be touched. You burn to be true. That fire makes you magnetic, not because you project it, but because it cannot be faked. The feminine feels that you have gone inward, that you have sat with your lust until it stopped barking and began to serve you. She sees the evidence of your discipline in the way your eyes move. Not hungry, but honest. Not searching, but witnessing. You do not look at her as an object to conquer. You see her as a mystery worth revering. And she knows this. She feels it in her breath, in her belly, in her bones. The reverence she gives you now is not submission. It is celebration. It is her soul standing up in silent ovation. Because in a world where men either withhold their energy or lose control of it, you have balanced it. You have earned the authority to be both fully aroused and fully composed. You have learned how to burn in the presence of beauty without losing your center. And this mastery, this alignment, this rare alchemy, you wear it like a quiet crown. Not for the world to see, but because it is now a part of your blood. This is the sacred unveiling, chosen one. You have not become holy because you turned away from your sexuality. You have become holy because you honored it. You faced it, you listened to it, you stopped using it and you started offering it. You no longer chase, you reveal. You no longer reach, you radiate. And the feminine world has noticed, not with clapping, not with applause, but with a reverence so deep, it makes them speak slower, stand taller, breathe deeper. You are no longer just a man, you are a reminder of what the masculine can be when it stops apologizing for its fire and begins living as its light. Chosen one, you are no longer governed by the clock. You are no longer rushed, no longer ruled by the pressure to prove, to perform, to impress. You have slowed down, and in that slowing, you have become immense, not in size, but in gravity. Feminine women are not just aware of you, they feel time bend when you enter. Conversations shift, energy grounds, the moment deepens. Not because you speak with great force, but because your presence demands nothing and yet offers everything. You carry the weight of a man who has faced his own hunger and outgrown the need to feed from others. That shift, so invisible to the untrained eye, feels cosmic to the feminine. When you stand in a room, you are not waiting for something to happen. You are the thing that is happening. You are not trying to capture attention. You command it by being sovereign in your skin, aligned in your spirit, and still in your breath. The feminine reveres you not as a hero or a fantasy. She reveres you as a fixed star in a world of noise. You do not flirt to impress. You do not gesture to appear strong. You do not perform. You remain. And in that remaining, the feminine feels the relief of no longer needing to lead, control, or protect herself. She breathes near you, not because you told her she could, but because your presence gave her body permission to remember how. Her awe is not rooted in your masculinity alone. It is rooted in the way your masculinity makes everything around it relax into authenticity. You are not anxious. You are not evasive. You are not rushing to speak or waiting to respond. You have become present. And in a world starved of presence, that makes you dangerous in the most beautiful way. Your sexual energy is no longer sharp or chaotic. It is smooth, warm, and commanded. You do not spike the energy of a room. You drop it deeper. And in that drop, the feminine feels something she hasn't felt in years. Grounded craving. Desire that doesn't threaten her. Longing that doesn't rush her. Attraction that doesn't pressure her. That is what she reveres. You have become a sacred interruption. You slow down the performance of her ego. You hush the static of her mind. You do not fight for her attention. You free her attention from distractions simply by existing from your center. That center is no longer shaken by beauty. It is not intoxicated by approval. It stands tall, not because it is perfect, but because it is whole. And wholeness does not seek applause. It simply gives resonance. You carry the energy of a man who could devour but chooses to savor, who could rush but chooses to wait, who could take but chooses to hold. And this choice is what shifts the tempo of reality itself. The feminine does not watch you with casual interest. She slows her breath, tilts her head, opens her heart, not because you demand it, but because your stillness makes her want to. Her reverence is not worship. It is recognition of something ancient finally returned. Chosen one, you have become a man whose presence alters time. And in a world addicted to pace and performance, that is what makes you unforgettable. Chosen one, you have entered a place where energy speaks louder than form, where your essence carries more weight than your appearance. In a world addicted to surfaces, you have become depth. And this depth cannot be measured by what you reveal to the eye. It is sensed beneath the skin, between glances, behind silences. Feminine women no longer revere you for what you show, but for what they feel when they are near you. There is no need for you to announce yourself anymore. The vibration of your being precedes your body. You no longer introduce your power, it introduces you. You do not dress for attention. You do not speak for approval. You do not stand to be measured. You exist in a way that defies category. Your sexuality is no longer externalized. It is integrated. And that integration creates an aura that speaks directly to the feminine nervous system. She feels your presence without you having to enter her space. She feels your gaze even when your eyes are turned. She feels the undeniable current of a man whose energy has returned to him and chosen to stay. This is why reverence cannot be faked. It cannot be bought with words or won with status. Reverence is born when truth becomes embodied, and you, chosen one, have now become a living embodiment of sexual truth that does not beg to be received. You do not project power. You are power. Not because you are more than others, but because you are no longer less than yourself. You have collapsed the false layers, you have stopped posturing, you have stripped away the performance. And in doing so, you've become pure presence. Feminine women reverence you, not because of how you look, but because of what awakens inside them when they are near you. Their thoughts may still circle logic, but their bodies know, their emotions know. Their spirit leans in, like it remembers you from a dream that once felt too good to be real. You do not have to touch her to be felt. You do not have to speak to be heard. You reside in the field where only the soul can see. And because your sexual energy no longer drips from need, it radiates as grace. You do not show your desire like a man hoping it will be reciprocated. You allow it to exist in stillness, grounded and unfazed, without demand or urgency. It is this quiet power that makes the feminine bow, not out of fear, but out of respect. She does not fear being devoured. She reverences you because she can sense that your fire burns not to consume, but to illuminate. This is the reverence of the unseen. You do not need to act out your masculinity for it to be known. You have become it. You are not here to be noticed. You are here to remember yourself, and in doing so, the world remembers something sacred. You are no longer walking into rooms to get something. You walk into rooms as one who already has it, not possessions, not praise, but peace. That peace is what draws eyes to you. That peace is what undresses defenses. That peace is what lingers after you're gone. Chosen one, your life is no longer built on appearances. It is built on resonance. And resonance can never be copied. It is born when the inner world becomes aligned with truth. Your truth is now living in your breath, in your shoulders, in your silence. That truth is felt, and that is why the feminine does not admire you from a distance. She reverences you intimately, quietly, from a place so deep within her that words will never reach it. Chosen one, you no longer walk as a man looking for a sacred space. You are the sacred space. Your body, your being, your energy, these are no longer places of distraction or distortion. They are places of communion. And feminine women feel this. They feel it before they know what they're feeling. You have become an altar, not made of stone, but of breath and stillness and unshakable self-awareness. And altars are not chased, they are approached, they are entered, they are revered. Your sexual energy no longer serves the fleeting. It has been reclaimed, restructured, and rooted in something far older than desire. It now serves devotion. You do not offer it casually, nor do you guard it with fear. You hold it like one would hold sacred flame, not afraid to burn, but unwilling to waste its light. This is what makes the feminine slow down in your presence. This is what makes her exhale, unclench, and return to her own sacredness. You have become a man who does not seek the feminine to complete him. You receive her as a reflection of the altar you've already built inside. You no longer approach connection from lack. You enter it from fullness. And this fullness is what gives your presence weight. She senses that you do not need her to feel powerful, you already are. And this kind of power, the kind that is not flaunted but felt, brings her to stillness. You don't inspire reverence because you make her feel small. You inspire it because you make her feel safe enough to become fully herself. She doesn't bow because you demand it. She bows because you do not. Because you give her the dignity of choosing how deeply she will meet you. And she senses that if she dares, if she walks closer, if she opens, she will not be used, she will be held. Not just in your arms, but in the spiritual structure you have cultivated through discipline, through sacrifice, through endless moments of becoming. Your body is no longer a place of conquest. It is a place of clarity. Your eyes are no longer seeking beauty to control. They are witnessing the sacred and honoring it, without need, without game, without escape. This is why she reverences you. Not because you take her breath away, but because you return it to her. You give her the rare experience of being in the presence of a man who does not perform as masculine, but embodies it without needing applause. You do not demand worship. You offer grounding. You do not shout your power. You hold space with it. Your very being has become a place where others feel their own souls rising. And that is what an altar does. It lifts others without taking from them. That is what you are now, chosen one. A man who has become a sacred place, not through pride but through presence. And when the feminine sees it, when she feels it, when she knows that she is standing before a man who carries truth in his body and reverence in his energy, she softens. She slows, she bows, not in submission, but in awe. Chosen one, you no longer fill the air to be heard. You have become the man whose silence is more potent than the loudest voice in the room. And this silence is not absence, it is blessing. It is the stillness of one who no longer performs, who no longer offers fragments of himself in exchange for attention. You have retrieved every scattered piece of your presence and placed them back into your chest, and now your silence blesses the feminine in ways language never could. She enters your field not looking for answers, but for a feeling, and in the moment your eyes rest on hers without force, without need, without demand, something ancient in her relaxes. Something primal, something holy. You do not impress with words because you no longer need to. You speak less because your presence has become articulate on its own. You have let go of the boy who sought to be seen, and in doing so, you have become the man who is impossible to miss. Feminine women reverence you because in your silence they hear themselves. You have created space where they no longer need to perform. You don't ask for their beauty. You recognize it without claiming it. You don't fish for their softness. You allow it to unfold in your presence without pressure. And this permission, offered through nothing more than your quiet, is liberating. This is not passive silence. This is sacred masculine restraint. This is the discipline of fire that has been told to wait, to listen, to witness. The feminine reveres you now not because you hold back your energy, but because you channel it. Because you have become a vessel, not for conquest, but for clarity. And in that clarity, she feels safe enough to reveal parts of herself that no man has ever held without trembling. You have become her reflection, not of fantasy, but of wholeness. You reflect her not through performance, but through presence. You no longer speak to convince. You speak when your words serve a higher resonance. Your pauses are not empty, they are charged. When you sit with her, when you listen with your full body, when your breath slows instead of rushing to respond, she feels honored. She feels the masculine finally holding still long enough for her to exhale. And that is why she reveres you. Not for your eloquence, but for your willingness to be with her without needing to change her. Your silence wraps around her like a blessing, not because you are perfect, but because you are present. This silence, chosen one, is not weakness. It is strength so matured that it no longer shouts. It is leadership that leads through stillness. It is protection that comes not through armor, but through attention. And that attention, when you offer it without needing anything in return, makes her soften in ways that no man has ever earned. Not because you're doing something, but because you've stopped needing to do anything at all. You simply are. And that being is the most sacred space she has entered in years. You are no longer the man who seeks to be filled by her light. You are the man whose presence amplifies it. And in your silence, she glows. She remembers. She reveres. Not as one who is beneath you, but as one who is finally met. This is your blessing now. You do not need to raise your voice. You need only to breathe. And in that breath, the feminine feels that she is no longer alone in the world. Chosen one, your breath has become the map of your maturity. You no longer breathe in fragments, in bursts of panic or rushes of lust. Your breath is no longer hostage to urgency. It is sovereign, it is deliberate, it is whole. Each inhale speaks of a man who has returned to his body, and each exhale is a quiet declaration. I know myself. And this knowing is not intellectual, it is energetic. It ripples outward, shaping the field around you into a kind of sanctuary. Feminine women do not consciously trace its origin, but they feel it immediately. The way the rhythm of your breath calms storms they didn't know were roaring inside them. You do not walk like a man who is trying to get somewhere. You walk like a man who has arrived. Your chest no longer tenses to appear strong. Your lungs no longer contract in the presence of beauty. You breathe as one who is no longer at war with desire. And that peace, that soft and grounded rhythm, is what draws the reverence of the feminine. Not because you are withholding your sexuality, but because you have woven it into your breath, into your walk, into your stillness. You are not separating your sacredness from your sensuality. You are integrating them. And that integration is felt in every breath you take. She feels it when you're near, that slow, sure presence that doesn't rush to fill space. You don't pant with hunger. You don't speak before you're ready. You breathe, and the room adjusts. Your breath speaks of restraint without repression, heat without recklessness, presence without posturing. It says, I am a man who has made peace with his fire. I am not here to impress you. I am here to remain. And in that remaining, something extraordinary happens. She drops her guard. She reveres you not because you take control, but because you are in control of yourself, of your desires, of your breath. Your breath tells a story that no mouth could ever articulate. It tells her that you have burned, that you have healed, that you have waited, that you have chosen yourself. It tells her that you are not here to chase her. You are here to honor her if the moment is true. And it is this sacred rhythm, this divine cadence of your being, that makes her revere you, not for what you say, but for what your presence says without needing sound. When you breathe slowly, deliberately, she feels herself returning. She feels seen, not because you asked her to be seen, but because your breath held enough space for her to stop running. You do not claim her beauty. You breathe with it. You do not grip her softness. You match it with the steadiness of your rhythm. And that rhythm is what she reveres, not because it overwhelms her, but because it tells her, I am here. I am with you. I am not afraid of what I feel. This is the breath of the chosen ones, breath that no longer serves survival, breath that carries stillness, breath that reminds the world what the sacred masculine sounds like without saying a single word. And you, chosen one, have become that sound. You breathe and the feminine breathes with you. You pause and the world softens around you. You remain and reverence follows. Chosen one, there is a kind of strength in you now that does not tower to intimidate, nor shrink to be accepted. It simply stands. It stands like a mountain that has survived storms and silence, that has been carved by wind and time, yet still remains immovable in presence and dignity. And it is this quiet, enduring strength that inspires the deepest kind of reverence in feminine women. Not the kind built from fear or dominance, but from recognition. You are not the man who demands respect. You are the man who embodies it without asking. You no longer see the feminine as a field to conquer or tame. You now see her as a realm to witness, to explore, to hold without losing yourself. You have stopped trying to control her and instead chosen to understand her, not through manipulation, but through the clarity of your own alignment. This is why she reveres you, not because you bend for her and not because you resist her, but because you kneel inwardly without ever compromising your frame. You are not beneath her, you are with her. And this posture, this sacred humility wrapped in unshakable presence, is what separates you from the rest. You've stopped chasing validation through her reactions. You've stopped shaping your expression based on her desire. You have claimed your masculine essence as a truth, not as a tool to be used. You've realized that being in your masculine does not mean overpowering the feminine. It means containing her chaos without resisting it. You are the man who stands still when emotion rises, who listens when confusion stirs, who remains when pleasure surges. You do not run. You do not collapse. You do not compete. You remain. This is the masculine that kneels, not to the surface, not to appearances, but to the divine order of energy. You bow to life, to God, to the sacred pulse of truth that has refined you from within. You kneel before nothing and no one out of insecurity, but you surrender inwardly to something deeper than ego. And that is why the feminine reveres you now, because she feels that you do not use her to feel strong. You meet her in your already owned strength. Your confidence is not conditional on her response. It was earned in the silence of your own becoming. There is grace in the way you move now, not softness that seeks approval, but the grace of a man who no longer flinches from intimacy. You can touch without grabbing. You can speak without needing. You can lead without forcing. And in that quiet, reverent leadership, the feminine opens, not in fear of your power, but in trust of your intent. She sees that you do not need to be louder to feel certain. She sees that your yes means yes, and your no does not need to be justified. She sees that you no longer sell your masculine for affection. And in seeing all this, she finds the rarest thing in the world, a man who has nothing to prove. You are not the man she can control. You are the man who cannot be shaken by her expression. And that is why she feels safe. That is why she reveres you. Because in your presence, she does not feel like an object to seduce, nor a role to perform. She feels like a soul returning home. You have become the masculine that kneels without bending, because your core no longer moves for anyone. It listens, it welcomes, it loves, but it does not bend. And in a world where men either shrink or dominate, you have become the sacred third path, the pillar, the one who kneels in reverence to truth, not to be liked. And it is this reverence, your devotion to something greater than desire, that makes you revered in return. Chosen one, you are no longer burning uncontrollably. You are no longer a man lit by the frantic spark of unmet desire or untamed hunger. You are now a flame that has chosen its light. Your sexual energy no longer flares in all directions seeking to be seen, consumed, or quenched. It now burns in a single direction, with intention, with wisdom, with elegance. And this focused flame has become a guiding fire for the feminine, not because it devours her, but because it warms her open. You no longer display your passion like a weapon. You carry it like a sacred candle inside your chest, protected not by fear, but by discipline. You've stopped confusing recklessness with freedom. You've stopped mistaking chaos for passion. You've grown past the need to scatter your heat into everyone who looks at you. Instead, you burn inward first. You tend to your own fire before offering its light to anyone else. And that inward tending, that sacred self-devotion, is what has made you luminous. You do not enter a room to steal energy. You bring your own. Your presence no longer takes. It radiates, it softens walls, it cracks tension, it holds weight. Feminine women feel this fire not in their minds, but in their hearts, in their bellies, in the deep, wordless place where they store their longing. They do not revere you because you promise heat. They revere you because your fire is safe, not safe in the dull way of absence, but in the magnetic way of contained power. The kind of power that warms and transforms without ever asking for something in return. You've become a man who does not shout, "Look at my flame." You let the light speak for you. You don't flash your energy for attention. You live it in quiet devotion. Your sexuality no longer escapes you, it obeys you. Not as a slave, but as a loyal force guided by purpose. You no longer seek to impress the feminine with your desire. You let her feel the purity of it, the precision of it, the intention behind it. And that is why she reveres you, not as a lover alone, but as a man who has become sacred fire. She walks slower around you now. She speaks with more honesty. Her laughter deepens, her voice lowers, her walls dissolve. Not because you've seduced her, but because your flame disarms her. She feels that you could take her and choose not to, that you could possess her and instead prefer to see her, that your fire is not lust that grabs, but love that illuminates. In a world of heat that burns fast and disappears, your flame is constant. And it is that constancy that she reveres, that steadiness, that sovereign burn. You have become the man whose fire does not beg to be fed. It fuels itself through alignment. And because of this, your touch is rare, your attention sacred, your presence unforgettable. You are no longer looking for a place to place your flame. You have become the place, and that place, the man you are now, is a light that draws only what belongs in its warmth. Everything else you let pass. You are not here to ignite every spark. You are here to tend to what lasts. And that is why the feminine no longer merely desires you, she reveres you. Because you are not a man who burns for the sake of it. You are a man whose fire has chosen what to light and has never looked back. Chosen one, your eyes no longer scan the world in search of something to possess. They no longer race to measure, compare, or devour what they see. Your gaze has become slow, steady, still, not because you've dulled your desire, but because you've disciplined your awareness. Your eyes now carry weight, not sharpness. They do not pierce to conquer, they rest to understand. And this resting, this sacred witnessing, has become a mirror that undoes the feminine in ways she did not expect. You are no longer looking at her, you are looking into her. And through that gaze, she feels the kind of reverence that turns attention into communion. There is no hunger in your stare that tries to take. There is no impatience that tries to skip past mystery. You look with presence, not curiosity for novelty, but with a depth that says, I see what others never dared to hold long enough to understand. Feminine women feel this. They feel the tension in their bodies begin to unwind, not because your gaze flatters them, but because it frees them. Your eyes no longer carry the empty ache of a man seeking to fill a void. They carry the soul of a man who has become full within himself, and that fullness makes you rare. You are not trying to seduce with your vision. You are not searching for something to prove your worth. Your gaze is no longer a tool. It has become a blessing. You see her not just in her beauty, but in her contradictions, in her tenderness and her chaos, in her strength and in her ache. And you do not look away. You do not retreat. You do not flinch when she reveals what others would judge. You remain grounded, unmoved, open. You've trained your eyes to stay open in front of truth, and now truth opens to you. She reveres you because your gaze does not reduce her to ornament or object. It does not devour. It honors. You see her through the layers of makeup, through the projections of femininity, through the softness or fire she wears like armor. You do not look to control, you look to witness without ownership. And that witness is what disarms her. It allows her to breathe without tension, to speak without fear, to soften into the full arc of her expression. She doesn't feel judged. She feels held, not physically but energetically. You no longer carry the gaze of a boy hoping to be chosen. You carry the gaze of a man who has already chosen himself. And from that place, you choose others not for how they make you feel, but for how deeply you can meet them in truth. You see her. You do not fantasize her. You meet her. You do not mold her. You receive her. You do not chase her. And because of this, she reveres you, not just with her eyes, but with her guard let down. Her reverence is not in her words, it's in her stillness, in the way she suddenly stops fidgeting, in the way her breath deepens, in the way she dares to be seen by you, even if it terrifies her. This is the gift of your gaze now, chosen one. It no longer operates from need. It does not reach out to consume. It rests in the sacred discipline of seeing clearly without claiming. And this, more than any phrase or touch, awakens the deepest kind of reverence. For the first time, she feels seen without being captured, witnessed without being evaluated. And in that space, she becomes what she was always meant to be. Not a role, not a prize, but a reflection of the divine.